Hello, this is Gene. I'm going to do like a response to Spetsnaz's male grief. Uh, I commented on his video. I just said wow because this guy just understands things and he understands the pain that men go through. So I'm going to own my own guilt online. Today is March 17th, as you can tell. I'm wearing green. Um, but it's also the day that my mom was born in 1943. So she would have been 72 today, and by her own choosings of her lifestyle, and choices she made in her life, she's not here anymore. She died several years ago with complications after several strokes, based on the fact that she would not stop smoking. She wouldn't do things that were bad for her heart. But when I start talking about my guilt, it's not, I don't feel guilty that she died. I don't feel guilty that I wasn't there when she died, because the person that, when she died, she was not the same person. She was a shell of a human being. My guilt is something that I acquired when I was a boy, and to own it, to say that it's hard for me to say, because as a man I'm supposed to man up and do what I'm supposed to do. But I never really knew my biological father. Somewhere in their relationship, my dad, who was considered an eclectic type person, from what I know. He was very studious, read a lot, was very liberal in his beliefs, and but he was the oldest son of a decent or well-to-do family, and was always pressured to be the standard bearer. And I think that my mom met him and wanted to marry him because of that, and thought that he would be this great person that she would just latch on to. And I only say that because that wasn't uncommon at that time, that a woman would latch on to somebody who was considered successful. Now, my mom was considered herself a very empowered woman. She grew up during the second phase of feminism, but this woman was not really as empowering as she was. I mean, she went to high school. She went to college and met my dad, and she quit school to marry him. I don't know why he was married before. I don't know what happened in his first marriage, if she had anything to do about it. But so they got married, and he finished. And I think somewhere on the way that she didn't want to be the wife of somebody who was a high school teacher, and somebody that wasn't really into it, because he had issues at school. And the rest of his family were much more successful. Personally, I think who's a teacher, that's a very good job, and it should be respected at as high as any other profession. So somewhere, when I was 2 or 3 or 4 years old, in her mind she realized that she could do better, I guess. And this is the time that the no-fault divorces came out, and you could basically get divorced for no reason. I don't know if he cheated on her. None of this stuff has been said to me, so I don't know. But in my mind, 50 years later, as I think about it, I think she quit. She quit on him. She quit on us, and she decided to, still this great empowered woman, found another guy to shack up with, who beat her up and beat the crap out of us. So my guilt is, maybe I could have stopped it when she was getting beat up when I was 4. I don't think I could have. And then later on, she met another guy that was a good man, and she found the right guy to help raise the rest of us. He's a beta provider, but he was also an alpha man as well. So my guilt is not the fact that I'm mourning my mom's death today. my guilt is because I never knew my father, and this has nothing to do with my stepfather. He was a good man, but I was told things just in passing, that said, well, you have to be better than your dad was because your dad left us, or you can't be like other guys, and I was conditioned from a very young age that I had to be different than any other men out there because other men they weren't good men. They were guys that would do something to these women. So some of my other videos I talk about that and how it, until I got in the military, I just thought that I was like the exception, that every man was an animal just waiting to come out. So so my guilt today is that I never had a relationship with my dad, and I'll never get it. My sisters had it, but for some reason I just allowed to have that fester in my mind that I'm not gonna. Now there were issues that happened when I did see him when I was young, but those weren't his fault. I'm not trying to give him, a blank check. He could have picked up the phone more, but I think he was very similar to me. I think he was told he had to be, the standard bearer. He was the oldest son of a decent, well-to-do family, and he never really got to that level. At some point in his life, he said, "I'm not going to be a teacher anymore," and he became a newspaper seller. He would just do it in East St. Louis and he'd be done. And he didn't need that success in his life. He didn't have to have somebody say, "Hey, that guy did great." He wanted to get things done, get some money for it, and enjoy his life. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think my dad would have been probably now at MGTOW. But he just, I'll have to cut this out. Anyway. So, even though he got married again, because that's just how the cultural expectation was then, but he married somebody was not at the same, not gonna say the same level, but she was just someone around, I guess. So when Spetsnaz talks about we have to own our own guilt so we can heal, I just have to get it. I just have to accept that. For my entire life, I look just like my dad. Now, sometimes when I look at myself, I look just like my mom, and I don't know how to feel about that. I'm not going to excuse her. She, to me, was somebody that always put herself first, and so he talks. Spetsnaz talks about apathy, or if you don't understand the guilt that you have, you either become apathetic, or it could turn to some sort of behavior issues like anger or stuff. And I look back in my life and I say, why did things like this? Why was I so afraid to go up to women and just ask them to dance? Did I thought that they were looking at me the same way that that my mom would tell me that men are like this? That's the reason why I couldn't go up and talk to them. The only women that ever went out with me are the ones that made the first move, and that's rare. The guilt that I have, that as a man, that I went along with it. That I believe that men are this way. That we are basically the blame for everything. And even today, when I try to talk about it, the shaming is there, and it just shuts me down. And I'm supposed to excuse that. I'm supposed to say, well, they don't know what they're doing. You know, they're not really trying to shame me. Um, no, when you get talked over and over again, that you say that other sides, it's more important that if I talk about violence, then it's like, well, more women get hurt. Or if I talk about suicide, then, well, women try to do as much. There's never, you know what, maybe we should look at this. Maybe we should try to figure out why this is the way it is. Um, it's frustrating, and I become more and more apathetic about it. I have these times that I really want to be part of a movement of some sort, but I just forget about it. I just don't do it, and because I don't think there's going to be anything out of it. Like I said, for many years, and still today, I was out this morning walking, and was looking out, and these are just my views, but you know, I saw about 10 men and about 3 women, and the men were out doing stuff in the yard, doing something, working. Some were walking around. About 70 to 80% of the men greeted me or responded to my greeting. Only one woman said anything, and I wondered to myself, did they just think there's so much at a different level than us? If I say good morning to you and I say it loud enough, you just go on with your life. I'm not going to even recognize that you're there. You know, it's at the same time they want you to open the doors, but now I've been reading things that if you open the doors, we're sexist. So, but everybody that I know is in such denial about every of this. They just don't think it's going on, and you know, they'll understand when it's too late. And it's I'm kind of rambling now, as I knew I would, since I'm not putting anything down on paper. But you know, like I said, my guilt is not knowing my father. Not to be able to any type of wisdom that he could have gave me that I could give to my sons or my daughters. I just have a picture of him, and just very small memories of him. And it's I don't know. You know, it's, how do I get past that? I don't know. I guess I try to do better. You know, it took me almost 4.5 years before I really started moving after my stroke. I mean, when you talk about apathy, boy, that's what I was. I was Mr. Apathy. You know, Spetsnaz talk about depression medicines that just basically just puts us all into zombie mode, and that's exactly what it did. And I just didn't care. And several times I said I should just get rid of myself. You know, the self-loathing. It's just, you know, you talk about my fear of not doing something when I was younger, to go out, travel more. Just that fear that was just instilled in me, all from when I was just a boy. You know, saying you got to be better than that man. Don't do anything wrong. Don't rock the boat. That type of thing. And I just let it just control my life for so long. And now that I try to get out of that shell, it's like I'm being pushed back into it. And it makes me upset and it makes me mad, but you know, I got to get past it. I got to say that I got to own this guilt, this fear, and just go on with my life. That means that I go to a cabin in the woods and be by myself. It is what it is. There's other guilts too if I'm not around for my kids, but anyway, that's just how I feel today. You know, like I said, my mom would have been 72 today, so a lot of this is coming out. Thank you for listening, and I'll talk to you later.